It is January the 25th in 2025. Oh, this is difficult. I'm Chris, and this is the future of photography.
The future of photography.
Here we go, after a bit of a break. Hello, Jeremiah.
Hi.
Hello, Adrian.
Hello.
Good.
Everybody experience the raspiness of my voice.
Yeah.
I mean, tremendous amount of particulate matter around here.
People have already seen the title of this episode. So let's see how much photography there will be. But January 7th, the LA fires, or the Southern California fires, kicked off. It was very dry, low humidity. Lots of vegetation built up over winter, and hurricane force winds, like 60, 70, 80, some gusts up to 100 miles per hour. And at least from my perspective here in Germany, you see that on the news, and it's wildfires. You always see something about wildfires, and then it just clicked, and it's like, holy cow, Jeremiah is right in the middle of that.
Yeah,
so,
and I'm definitely in the middle of it.
It's not over yet. It's not over
still
yet.
Burning. They're still burning.
And as of now, just the latest info that I found is that there are 7 fires still active. They are getting more contained now, but still active fires. 28 people have died, over 200,000 people have been evacuated, and over 16,000 structures have been destroyed or severely damaged.
22,000
houses. People lost their houses and their living. So, question to you: you're still in your house?
Still in my house.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me just say that just to bring it up to speed. It's a blue sky. It's beautifully sunny today in Southern California, but we expect rain today or tomorrow, and that will bring with it huge mudslides because all the brushes are burnt off, and because of that, there's now another sense of urgency and, if you will, danger. So, having lived through earthquakes, fires, riots before. This is this is par for the course in Southern California, certainly in Los Angeles. So, but nothing on this scale. This is a Dresden-like. I think I said in one of our missives over the week. The Pacific Palisades, where I brought up my children, where they went to school, which is now burnt down. Most of my friends, if not at least half of my very close friends, have all lost their homes. So they're all in chaos. And these are not, people in their 30s who can just pick up and move forward. Very, very difficult period now. We're doing what we can. I, about 15 years ago, moved from the Palisade area to Venice, to be in a little more urban environment, closer to the beach. It's pretty close to the beach before, but now walking distances. And am I glad I did, because if you look at the map of LA, the fires are kind of burning all around us.
Let me bring that up here in the video. So this is a website that I've been to, and everyone probably in the US knows that. That's the Watch Duty website. They have, and this looks so much better than just a week ago, because what you see are like evacuation sites, like there's evacuation orders as in level 3, go now, and most of this map was red. So you live somewhere down here in the Venice area, which is
you see the little marina. You see there's a little marina. They're right there. So I'm a little bit north of the marina, and my studio's around the marina. So
that is pretty good. To the Palisades fire, which is the biggest of the fires. You're like 10 miles away from that,
7, 10,
or
yeah,
7
maybe 10 at
miles.
the most. I mean, 7. Yeah. I mean, so,
All right,
20.
and the Palisades area, again, just to give people a bit of a sense of the size of it, let me switch that to a satellite map. If you zoom in, that's where a lot of people live, and just these are the houses that are not there anymore.
That's right.
But just to give you a bit of a sense of scale here, people might know Malibu.
This is
A
a
lot of that
very,
is
very,
gone.
very large area.
A very
Massive.
large area. That's like, okay, again, over 16,000 houses
And
are
this is
gone.
not the country. This is the city.
Yes,
And
this is
obviously,
part of the city.
we're a very big city here, one of the biggest, and the scale of it is commonly, reacted. It's like no words, incomprehensible. I mean,
Yeah.
my bank burnt down, and I'm trying to get into my safety deposit box to find out what still exists. They don't know. Can't get up there. The National Guard are there protecting the area. It's very, very toxic. Some of my friends who've had a little bit of they had a little bit of the right papers, as it were. They got in to see their house, what's left of it, a chimney, a fence. Very sad. People are processing it in very different ways. Some are letting go, some can't let go. So the emotional devastation, which follows these kinds of things, I don't think has been fully or even partially integrated. So there's a long way to go. We have to get past the fire. We have to get it out. We have to clean up the debris. We have to clean the surfaces. I mean, even my house here, we're going to scrub down the whole house, just, of all the particulates that landed or may have. There were a few days where it was raining ash. Now, we have a very, very solid seal the house up, both with water and with air. So, and both my studios have filtration. And so, my personal situation is good. But I kind of feel I'm in the minority.
And
We just anticipate all these bad things happening, so we put them in advance.
and I bet there's a certain level of guilt coming with that as well.
There's that survivor guilt
Yeah.
that you feel. Certainly, I've felt it early. Not that I wanted to lose my house, but I know artists who've lost all their work. They're about to have a show, in a month. All that stuff is gone. 2-3 years of creative output.
I mean,
gone.
that's one of the things that I think, but it took me a while to understand, especially the Palisades area, but not just that. But this is full of creatives. There's photographers. There's a lot of people who work in and around the movie business, Hollywood,
Sure.
and so on. Not just stars, but like cutters
No.
and sound people and photographers and camera people and name it,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So
I mean, you think of the Palisades, as being, the kind of home of relatively wealthy. It's not Beverly Hills, but there's some very expensive homes there. It's the air is beautiful, has been. It's a gorgeous area. Service is great, and but there's also apartment buildings and middle class and working class people who live there. And we can't forget all of the service industries that serve that. The housekeepers, the kind of shopkeepers, the bakers, and all gone. So it's not just the inhabitants who may have had reasonably good insurance and eventually that may pan out for them, but there's also those that are indirectly affected radically by this. And I think we can't overlook that. So there's that. So the city is completely askewed right now. It just doesn't feel centered. And it's a difficult period, but I think we tend to take refuge in art. And on the other hand, you can go down to a restaurant in Santa Monica or Venice, and people are out. People are trying to cohese, trying to deal. The film industry has pretty well ground to a halt here, as people have kind of adapting to the shock, because there's a lot of executives, etc., that live around here as well as crew. And again, I don't want to overlook the other side of town, the Altadena side, which also has a lot of creative people and a lot of minorities, and a beautiful area as well, also completely devastated. So, we we forge ahead. Think about LA. I remember the Malibu fires, which weren't that long ago. Within a few years of rain, the explosion of growth is all there again. Problem is that we're out of balance. We have water, rain, build up, a lot of growth, drought, brush, fire, wind, and the cycle starts again. There's nothing new about the Santa Anas. Those are the winds we
That's the
identify.
that's the strong winds, the Santa Ana winds that have come up to such a high level that it made it pretty much impossible for or made impossible to save your house by spraying water on it.
There's no amount of water, no matter what the politics evolved out of this. There was no way to stop this. This was incredible. I mean, even walking outside my house at the height of it on that Monday or Tuesday, the wind was really intense. Blew down a palm tree on my street, crushed a car. And this is in a very kind of urban, normal neighborhood. I would say that there's going to be a real shift here. I'm not sure how it manifests. Nobody is sure. Obviously, everyone's looking for places to live again, either temporary or permanent, while they figure out what's going on. Rebuilding may take years and years, may go fast. I don't know. But cleaning up is unimaginable.
But it's not. I mean, the houses these days, when you burn a house, that does not. It's not a clean process. There's lots of things in there that, when they burn, release pretty toxic stuff. So
that's right. Yeah.
That requires a special care in that context.
Yeah.
So
we have the Federal Emergency Management called FEMA, which generally will come up here and clean it up. Of course, there's a lot of negotiations between local, state, and federal, and they're at loggerheads here because obviously we're a very progressive blue state in a extremely red political environment right now. And so there's all kinds of threats being made. But hopefully those are just bombast and will get worked through. But, when you have these episodes, creative people often take refuge in creativity, in art.
That would have been one of my next questions. How can photography or art in general play a role in this recovery?
Well, there's a few ways. One, you're going to see a lot of there's going to be a lot of stories to tell. There's been amazing photography in and around the event itself. I'm sure you've seen them. They've been all over the world. Those pictures of the flames in Los Angeles. They are very much like James Natchway's war photography. I mean,
I've seen one like a magazine cover pretty early on here that had a person walking in front of flames, like you see in the movies when an explosion goes on in the background and you walk in slow motion, and it said "Walk of Flame." So
and that's so there is the documentation of this, so we will not forget and figure out a way maybe to build houses that will withstand fires. How to clear brush, how to make urban environments a little more stable in a climate changing environment on Earth, not just here. I mean, today alone, with the notion in Iceland, they're having the biggest hurricane ever in history, something like 200 kilometers.
Ireland has been windswept dramatically over the last few days.
It has. I had some colleagues who I was with in London on Thursday, and they were due to stay overnight and fly home on Friday, but they got called back. They said, no, you have to go back. However you can get back, get back. These particular colleagues had flown out from Belfast. They had to fly back to Dublin and get a bus back up to Belfast because they couldn't get a flight to Belfast. 90, 100 mile an hour winds across the whole of the island of Ireland.
It's incredible. And then how about snow in Louisiana? Snow in Florida?
In Florida,
Snow in North Carolina. These are effectively tropical climates. So there is something going on here. So the documentation of these things, I think, are important, both creatively and historically, to tell a story. And, there's also another way of looking at it, which is to take the 10,000-foot view or the 10,000-year view and see these things as they're not personal. They are a process. And to start to see one's life in a kind of a bigger picture. It's easy for me to say because I'm still in my house. I still have my studio, and I'm doing what I can for my own personal community. But there is a sense of how do you manifest a kind of bigger view so you're not despairing, so it doesn't feel hopeless. And, I always look at stuff both in the micro and the macro, and I think that out of things like this, often will create a condition of really explosive creative work. And that's been true historically, and I have no reason to doubt that won't emerge here.
Have any of your film projects been affected by that? Anything that's in progress right now?
There are several things we have in progress, but they're kind of frozen because you can't really get a focus on people going, okay, let's get into it and let's figure this out. That will happen later on in the year, maybe in a couple of months, when everybody adapts and has their home life stable, relatively so. And then maybe we'll start to discuss moving on with that. So yeah, there's I can see the entire film industry is kind of ground to a crawl. Creatively, my museum shows, which are on the other side of the country, are all kind of in flow. In fact, they're being shipped this week. So, nationally, things I think are okay in terms of the art scene, but also the country is also in shock from the election, one way or another.
Country's busy with other things, yeah.
That's it. So there's all of that. We're into a transition of political power, and our cabinet is being kind of approved by the kind of Congress, that argument. And so people are trying to figure out where do they stand in this? I mean, how do they kind of go out? And if you're an immigrant, you are certainly looking over your shoulder. This is a very, very unstable period, not only in the United States, but globally too. So we are living in interesting times. For certain.
Yes, indeed.
Having gone through, go ahead.
No, sorry. You've mentioned community. I've seen things that come my way. Things like YouTube channels where the YouTubers are based in Los Angeles area, and they've done things like publish the story of the fires on their YouTube channels, make their own films of it, and then donate to the proceeds of whatever that makes to charities or to groups that will help rebuild. I mean, LA, as you said, it's an enormous city, right? What's 60, 70 miles across, if you think about it, yeah. So is it pulling together now as a community in a way that will help the people that have been affected?
I would say hard to know. It's certainly in the more local communities, like in my community of Venice, which is I would say a very tightly knit, very specific kind of community, because you have very wealthy people, you have very poor people, you have skaters, artists, you have black, white, Hispanic, Chinese. You have a lot of people jammed together who are used to that. So there's not that alienation of the other. It's not like there's a Belgravia here. This is a very, very specific area. And I noticed just, I guess, when I walk, that people, we would stop and talk to our neighbors and whatnot. So there's that. But I also noticed that people are really on edge. And you notice that driving, people are just, there's a lot of fear, anger, a sense of chaos, uncontrollable events that put people kind of on their heels. I think if you have young children, you're worried for their health if you're living close to the fires. I think if you have kids, like, for example, where my kids went to high school, that high school is gone. There's 3,000 kids or more that have to all be displaced from their friends, community, and sent to different schools where they just plop in to try and continue their education. What does that do for their kind of emotional makeup? Sort of like COVID, did. So there's that to deal with. There's certainly work-related issues, like, where's the business? If you work at a restaurant that's burned down, what are your options? If you've lost your home and you need 3 bedrooms, renting an apartment with 3 bedrooms here is a process. It's hard. There's a shortage of homes here. So everyone's dealing with this in a very specific way to their particular condition. But overall, like, my friends and colleagues, we've really banded together, and we have people over constantly just to give them a sense of normalcy. We've helped them, kind of pointed them in the right direction. That's really, that's what community is really for, isn't it? I mean, that's where you start, no matter what your particular political or social or economic conditions are. You really have to look to your support system.
Yeah.
And that's happening. Again, my own situation, because I'm in Venice, I'm very, very lucky, because I could have still been up there in the Palisades and lost it. So there's that. So then I appreciate it. And you can tell by my voice, I've been breathing.
Oh, there's lots of crap in the air right now, yeah.
Even filtered, I feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're one of my points of contact into the photography world that was affected by the LA fires. Another one is Iberinex Perello, which some of the listeners of this podcast might know, because he and we go back to, like, the beginning of podcasting. He was a photographer from LA, from the Altadena area. And we've met a couple of times. We've both been early podcasters in this field. And he lost his house. He and his family are in a hotel right now, and lost his studio, lost all his equipment, which I think is probably the easiest bit to replace. But so if anyone's interested, his podcast, The Candid Frame, he recorded an episode about his experience. So If anyone wants to listen to that, we are going to put a link of that in the show notes.
Yeah, the loss of negatives and things like that is very tragic. I have personal, one of my close friends, her father was a photographer, and she had an incredible collection of 5x7 glass negatives, all portraits of Einstein and Oppenheimer and all of that period of scientists, all kind of beautifully, they had to just run. They didn't have time to grab their
and glass negatives are heavy, so
so there you go.
Not easy to grab.
So there is a huge loss of history that we're just sifting through the files. I'm saying writ large, to really ascertain what has been lost.
Do you have off-site backups?
Yeah, sure.
Because
I do.
This is I've never experienced the loss of property on this scale. Never had a house fire or anything, but this drives home the point that especially your digital stuff, you should have a cloud backup somewhere, be it Arc backup or Backblaze or something like that, because these things can happen. And then
sure. I mean, I do most, all my digital work is backed up off-site. I know people who just did, they backed up and their drives were in their house.
Exactly.
That didn't work very well. I do have a few boxes of negatives there that have not yet been digitized. Old stuff from Vogue and whatnot. And putting it in a safety deposit box. Thank goodness I didn't keep them safe. I mean, I do have my very first solo show. I have all the original Polaroids, 5x7 or 4x5 Polaroids that were done, with a large format camera that have been pristinely kept since 1974 that are in a safety deposit box. And the thing is, I don't know if the vault is sustained internal, how fire resistant it is. We don't know. The bank doesn't know. So I'll find out. But off-site digital replacement is very, very important.
And in the good old days of film, quotes, air quotes here, there were services that would even duplicate your analog stuff for you, so you could have a copy somewhere else.
I think there is now, sure. But the stuff, you have to mail it away, to Kodak or whatnot. It's
there's like a scanning service here. They try to give you a bit more of a secure feeling by picking things up, having a courier pick things up as opposed to the postal system. But still,
I've been looking at these
you're handing someone your babies.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, that's not something I want to do. But there is, just last week I was looking at one of these automated, little thing that transports the camera. You could set it up so that it automatically takes a frame and moves the thing. But my negatives are all cut into 6 inch.
That won't work then. No.
You know what I mean? And it's like, that's a lot of work. So there is that to contend with, think about.
So with hundreds of thousands of people displaced right now, what can we do? I've looked for like organizations to donate to, and of course the big ones, the Red Cross and others like that pop up. But are there any specific recommendations?
Here's the thing. First thing people did, they went and they any clothing that they could pull out of their closets, whatnot, and bring them to all of these centers. Some of them were at the Rose Bowl, which is a massive 90,000 seat environment, and those kinds of areas that LA has plenty of because of the Olympics and whatnot. And they had to stop it. They were just overwhelmed. There was so much stuff that they had too much stuff. So that didn't really work. Money, it's hard to know which organizations are directing the money in the right way and how much they're taking off the top, all of that.
That's why I'm asking someone who's closer to the whole thing.
What people really need is housing. That's what people really need. And that is not a problem that can be solved easily. I mean, nobody seems to be able to do that. And part of it is because of the erosion of the value of our dollar and the amount of people and the difficulty of building in California. We have very, very strict building codes and obviously not strict enough. But so that becomes a kind of exacerbated problem. It's not like you can contribute to a food bank easily, but maybe that's the way to do it, just meals and that kind of thing. Jose Andres was doing a lot of stuff here. Always a good venue to support, no matter where they're working on Earth, because they were doing a lot of feeding. And I think that's probably what I would do, because I think they're not specific to a wealthy neighborhood or a non-wealthy. You know what I mean? It's like whoever needs it gets it. Here, again, I try to keep it local. I try to do what I can for my people, and then I think that's it. That's how I'm doing it. But really keeping your head on straight and understanding that's
the most important thing. Yeah,
that we're bearing witness historically to a lot of things that are shifting and changing, not only locally, but it may be a metaphor for what's happening globally. I mean, we don't seem to have a hard balance of power globally, and feels like the edge of World War I.
Did you go out and do any photography, any documentation, any whatever coping stuff since January the 7th?
Obviously, I've wanted to go up to the Palisades and photograph,
of course,
but you just can't get in. And I don't feel that I want to push. I could probably get in if I really got my head down, but I don't. I feel it's more invasive and would serve my ego more than the aesthetic. So I've taken to making a representation using AI, and I put some of it on our.
You sent these earlier. Let me bring them up on the screen. Because I looked at them, and initially I was like, "Wow!" And then I thought, "Oh, wait a minute. There's something going on here." Okay.
But that in itself is very different from the conversation we were having 3 years ago or 2 years ago, even. Where these images that you've made, Jeremiah.
Getting the order wrong. So
yes, a lot.
I mean,
very lifelike at first glance.
Yeah, that's a very good representation of what the Palisades is right this moment. Okay, the deer which ran and could run from the fires.
Here we go. Yeah, this is okay. So I have this on my phone here. I'm mirroring my phone right now. This looked so good, and then I looked a bit closer at the fur, and it was a bit AI-ish, but.
No, I do have an up-resed version of this that is very hard to shake the tree on AI.
Here's one that I Eggleston, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A tribute to Eggleston,
absolutely
the children's bike, but this time not in front of a.
But the suburb is gone.
The suburb is gone. A few palm trees are still up, and the rest
and you
is
see
flattened.
There's like one house standing, and then the rest of them gone. That's kind of typical.
Right. Very. It is dystopian. Very dystopian.
It is.
And then you went overboard and brought us this lady with an umbrella
I just
in the
thought,
sea.
oh yeah, shooting a fashion video.
This is wild.
Taking
I mean,
advantage.
there's the fire in the background. This is a Renaissance painting right here.
I thought so. It's of the moment, and then I just did a slightly different version that looks more like a drawing.
Yeah.
But
it felt like charcoal when I first saw this one, which I thought was. It felt like a deliberate choice to use charcoal as the substance to document a fire.
I didn't think of it, but I'll take full advantage of that.
And they all convey this. Yeah, this is exactly how it could be.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, and that's a way of just kind of reaching out, or
of course,
kind of.
I think the Eggleston-esque one jumped out at me. As Chris did when he first showed it, recognised it for what it is, a tribute to or a build on, or whatever, however you choose to phrase it, on the very famous Eggleston tricycle image. And I think it almost increased my level of understanding and intimacy with what's going on, because
here's the original.
I did, yeah. Well, I have that very same book. Actually, it's a fantastic book. Yes. It's just on my shelf, just out of camera. Because it's such a famous photograph, it's one that I've certainly studied many times, and I'm sure many of our viewers and listeners will have done too. This particular image jumped at me quite starkly as it was a sort of almost a penny drop moment of bringing it home to me what it was that when you see it on helicopter views or on zoom lenses from the mountains 10 miles away, as a YouTuber is trying to capture it and trying to share what's the experience, that really made me pause for thought.
Yeah, it's extremely sad. Especially to those who've managed to get and look at their homes and see, find a single thing that survived the fires perfectly intact. Some incredible cars parked in front of houses on blocks that are completely devastated. You wouldn't see a scratch on them. I mean, that's fire for you. It moves in unexpected ways. And by the way, we're only talking here at this moment with people who've lost their homes. But I know 10 people who've lost their homes. And I'm not saying I heard of them. No, these are very dear friends. But also 3 or 4 that are not allowed to go back to their homes yet. So they're in hotels. Their homes have not burned. It's too toxic. They've already started the process of having people go in. What the cleanup would be if they can move back. Like, that's the other thing. Are you going to rebuild in an environment that is devastated? People are trying to figure that out. So those of us who are fortunate enough to have an expressive tool in photography or drawing or painting or sculpture, poetry, whatever, are employing those things. Joan Didion, for those who know, he was an amazing writer, wrote on the Santa Anas in 1969. The Chumash Indians used to go into the water into the ocean these thousands of years ago when these Santa Anas came up, because this kind of fire and smoke is a recurring thing, but never combined with the amount of brush, the amount of wind, and the lack of kind of a cohesive infrastructure that you couldn't fly any planes. It was too, much too windy. And here in California, when you have an outbreak and the weather is okay, they just fly in these huge dive bombers with water and anti-accelerants, which also create a problem of toxicity later. Now, in the Palisades, you can't even shower with the water because there's too much toxicity in the water and the groundwater from all of the stuff, the chemical stuff that was poured on the fire to keep it at bay.
Gosh.
So
Yeah, you see these red orange swaths of water coming down. Yeah,
there's some great photographs that some have done of the environment covered with red. These areas. Anyway, so I think that we can deal with that stuff as artists because we can use that. But I would not. I think a lot of psychological damage is going to come out of this, and when you couple this with kind of California politics and our national politics,
a
we're in
perfect
for a
storm.
very, very tough. And remember, we have the Olympics coming, and we have the World Cup coming, and all of that's coming to LA. You're all invited.
Maybe yes. We're stunned into silence there, but maybe those big events that are coming will help galvanise some of those federal funds or whatever. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws, I guess, on your behalf. But
certainly not if you kick out 12 million immigrants or undocumented who are the ones that are.
Yes, because there'll be nobody left to build it, I suppose, will there? So, yeah.
There is a conundrum coming. We've all faced this in our own countries in different ways. It's the turn of the U.S. now to try and figure out who we are as a country, who we are as a state, and who we are as a community. I mean, I don't have any problem with it because I have multiple passports and I'm an artist and I can take refuge and I'm lucky. I don't want to dispute that. I'm very lucky that I haven't had the world fall on me yet. And in so doing, I have that. I mean, you can call it privilege, but I'll just call it luck. So I can actually wake up and be creative. In fact, tonight I'm going over to a music producer that's going to show me how to use my teenage engineering medieval board, which is just eluding me.
Which is one of the wildest things I've seen in a long time.
It's pretty nuts.
Speaking of things other than fire, I guess this is the point where we switch over to our picks of the week because we have brought you picks of the weeks.
Sure.
Let's start with Adrian. Adrian, you brought us a book.
Ooh. Yes, a new book, tangentially linked at least in my brain, if not in fact. Many, if not all, of our listeners and viewers will have heard of Ouija, a very famous photographer, most active in the 50s and 60s in New York. With an eye for understanding how to photograph the crazy and the absurd in the city, and also known for being the sort of fella who'll listen to police scanners and go and take pictures of crime scenes before the police even get there. So there's what looks to me to be, I haven't got a copy of it. I'm not sure it's even out yet, but it's coming out very soon. A new book of his work. And it's a while since I've looked at Ouija's work, and I was looking at this online and in a magazine the other day and thought, fantastic stuff.
Yeah. Oh, the Irving pen of crime.
And for those who are into analog photography, large format photography, he used to use Graflex cameras.
Yeah, speed Graflex with a flash.
With a big flash, the very prototypical press photographer from back then. Probably had a hat on with a little press thing in it. Yeah.
I have to admit, bring it all home, that my very first street camera, not studio camera, my father gave me a Rolleiflex, but my first camera that I bought was a speed graphic with a big flash, and I was always hustling bulbs from anywhere. Anyone who could trace a bulb. Oh, this guy's got 40 in a closet, so I'd buy it. And I went out on the street, and so he was very influential in my early kind of days of kind of discovering the different approaches to photography and how you can go out and with a 4x5, so you're doing like snaps with big flash and a hugely sharp negative, and create sort of a aesthetic of the mundane, the absurd, and it would just look different than a Asahi Pentax shot.
And a graphmatic back that holds six. I have several of those.
Boom, boom, boom.
You can shoot six large format photos in rapid succession.
Yes,
which is
one of my fave.
Just
I love Voiji.
All right, let me pick mine for the next one. You know how we seen some of the big tech billionaires moving their stance towards a political spectrum that doesn't make me very happy. So we're looking at Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, like removing moderation, these kind of things. And of course, one of those services that is from Meta is Instagram. And Instagram is now seeing a bit of an exodus because people are not happy with what's going on there.
Going back to Flickr.
Well, Flickr is there. Yes, Flickr is there. Flickr is still its own self. I still have a pro account there. I still pay for it because it's one of the original photo social network. But something else that's now emerging is in the Fediverse. That's where Mastodon lives and other federated services. We're seeing PixelFed having quite a boost lately. PixelFed is sort of an Instagram replacement of sorts, but in a federated way. And we're looking at like 540,000 people who already joined over 1,000 PixelFed servers. So you could look at different servers and find out, I don't know, let's look at the filter here. Sort them by countries or by language or by categories. Some are more art focused, some are more regional, some are in the adult category. So you can find a server that fits you in some way. I personally am on pixelfed.social, which is the original server. That's the first one that was there, the biggest one. Or you can run your own server. If you're technically inclined, you can run your own server and federate with the PixelFed network.
What would be the server to use if you wanted just to discover new work in unexpected
ways? The thing with PixelFed is as they federate, you can see all the other servers. You can follow people on any of the other servers and they can follow you. So anyone that works for you. You could go for a local one, like in Germany, pixelfed.de would be a good choice. Pixelfed.social is being hammered right now. So, but yeah, there's an entire parallel world emerging there right now, and I think it's worth taking a look.
What was that social network that we experimented with a couple of years ago that I got mad at and dumped because they basically said, "Oh."
But the only one that I've tried in the last couple of years was Mastodon when that started kicking off. Yeah,
that's the one. Oh, just horrible.
Well, PixelFed worth a look, and we'll link that in the show notes. And if you're technically inclined, you can just fire up your own instance and have one for your house, for your friends, for your family, for your community, stuff like that. All right, and then last but not least, Jeremiah, you brought us art.
I brought you an artist who has a 10,000-foot view of history, of the world, and
Katie
of
Patterson.
Expressiveness. Very impressed by her work. It's just worth exploring because she's looking at the world in a macro way. She's looking at huge historical movements. I just find her work very inspired. It's not necessarily photography, but it's conceptual work. She works on glass. She works multimedia. And I don't know her, but I'm a big fan of her work. So
I'm just browsing through.
I encourage everybody to do a little bit of a dive, especially
Katie Patterson.
Especially when we're kind of so focused on the burning trees, mountains, houses, and communities around here. It's nice to have just a wider view of the planet. I love this piece, and it reminds you, when you go to the Arctic and they do those kind of slicing historical ice pulls where they'll kind of sink a tube a mile into the ice and then pull it out and then
core
analyze
samples and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think she's influenced by that as well. So there you go.
I like what I see. Thanks for sharing that.
It's good. The ice core thing. So triggers. I think I just heard recently of the oldest ice ever has just been pulled out of the Antarctic. I think they're something like 2.5 miles down or something ridiculous, and
that's really close,
100 million years old or something. It's just crazy.
Of course, there's some bug in there that's going to escape and do us in. Right?
Yeah. Something
the law of unintended consequences.
Something that proves it's all just a simulation, eh? Yeah.
I guess so.
All right.
And, a shout out to Emilia Perez, who I just thought was an amazing movie. And if you haven't seen it, please see it. I saw it early. I thought this was deserving of an Academy Award, and it's gotten
I have it on my watch list. You've been raving about it, so I have it on my watch list, and I will watch it. Anything
bold that indicates just moving the conversation of cinema a little bit further. It's not like a movie we've seen before. Let's put it that way. And in that way, and Jacques Audiard is a great director. Has made great movies, and he deserves all the plaudits that he's getting. Big fan.
All right. And with that, check everyone check the links in the show notes. We'll put a few links of the things we talked about in there. Jeremiah, hang in there. And
take care.
No other choice.
May we see the phoenix rise from the ashes, literally. All right, everyone.
Well, something will rise from the ashes.
Yeah. All right, everyone, take care, and we'll be back soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, see you later, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Future of Photography. Join the discussion on our Discord, find the show notes and all episodes at thefutureofphotography.com, and subscribe wherever you listen to audio.